But you guys, it felt so wrong ripping these safety eyes out of these plushies. All of the other plushies were watching me and just judging me so hard while I was doing it. And for all of my returning crochet friends, I know what you're thinking. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Morgan and I'm the maker behind LA Crochet. And if you're a returning crochet friend, then hey, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be telling you guys all about my last market. I'll be going through what sold, what didn't, what my best sellers were, and how much I made. And I'm super excited because I'll also be revealing my next pattern at the end of this video. So if you'd like to apply to be a pattern tester, make sure you stay tuned for that. And if you'd like to support my channel, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and you can check out my Instagram and my Etsy linked in the description. But alrighty friends, let's get into it. So this last market was on July 20th. It was a Saturday and luckily it wasn't too hot, which was something I was definitely worried about. And the event was 5 hours long. It was from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and the booth fee was $40, which I thought was really good. The event was located in a neighborhood and it was in the woods, which was kind of interesting. And it seemed like the median age was in the 50 to 70 range. So there seemed to be a lot of people buying for grandchildren, which I'll get into later in this video. But there weren't a ton of kids or teenagers, which I feel is usually my key demographic. But despite that, we still had a really good day with a lot of great sales. And you guys, if you watched my market prep vlog, then you know that my car broke down along the way, but we still made it to the market okay. But if you'd like a more in-depth story on that whole lovely experience, be sure to check out last week's video. So anyway, let's get into all of the things that sold this week. And as always, I'll link all of the pattern creators in the description below in case you'd like to create any of these cuties for your market. I feel like I usually end up going in alphabetical order when I tell you guys about what sold. So this time we're gonna switch it up and we're going to go in order from most to least sold. And I'm gonna give you guys a second to guess what my best seller was. Okay, if you're familiar with my videos, it's probably not going to come as a huge surprise to you. The best seller of the day was my loaf cats. I brought 8 of these loaf cats with me and I'll pop some pictures on the screen for you guys so that you can see all the different variations in colors that I brought with me. But I ended up selling 6 of them and all of them sold except the tabby cat and the white and red rust one. And I actually have examples of the 2 back here. So here is the little tabby cat that didn't sell. And then this is actually a remake of the one that didn't sell because shortly after my market, someone messaged me on Etsy and she asked if she could adopt my red and white cat. And you guys, I promise I am trying so hard to do a cat drop for my Etsy. It's just every time I make another batch of these guys, they sell so quickly, which is obviously an amazing problem to have. But I have another market this weekend on August 3rd, so I'm gonna be making another batch for that, and this is actually the makings of the batch that you see right here. And then after that, I should be able to finally have a cat drop on my Etsy. And of course, I'll announce that here and on my Instagram. And I'll also probably be including these mini loaf cats in the drop as well. So these are using the same exact pattern as all of the other loaf cats. It's by Annie Caraway Art. I just made these guys using less rounds. But yeah, anyway, the only cat that didn't sell this week was my tabby cat, which made him very sad. And I feel like if I just gave him a little pink bow, he would look so much like the sad hamster meme. But hopefully this guy will have better luck next week. But I also made this rainbow colored cat. This is made with rainbow pastel yarn by Big Twist, and it was the very first one to sell, and I actually almost had two kiddos fighting over it. So highly recommend making some loaf cats in fun colors like these. And as you can see, I also have another one up here, so I'm planning on bringing at least two to my next market, so hopefully we don't have any almost fights. Cat fights, if you will. Alrighty, my next bestseller was my $5 fruit basket, specifically the oranges. So I always like to bring these fruits with me to the market. I bring oranges, blueberries, and then I also bring watermelon, pineapple, and kiwi keychains, and I price them all at $5. Highly recommend having some $5 items at your market because these guys usually do pretty well for me. But yeah, so I ended up selling 4 oranges, so they were definitely the fruit favorite this week. And I mentioned earlier, there were a lot of folks at this market who were buying for their grandchildren, so younger kids of course. And if you watched my market prep video, you know that I started to embroider eyes for the very first time, and I brought some items with me that had some of these embroidered eyes. And you guys, the embroidered eyes were an absolute hit. So many of the things that I made with embroidered eyes ended up selling, so I'm definitely going to have to make a lot more for my next market. My goal is to have a few of each item with embroidered eyes. But this time, it just so happened that all of the oranges that I brought already had safety eyes in them, and I had a woman come up to me, she was buying for her grandchildren, and she asked me if I could switch out the safety eyes in 2 of the oranges for embroidered eyes. And of course I did it because I had my crochet kit there, and I also had some black acrylic yarn, so it all worked out. But you guys, it felt so wrong ripping these safety eyes out of these plushies. Like, I feel like all of the other plushies were watching me and just judging me so hard while I was doing it. But it ended up fine, and they actually ended up turning out really nice. But anyways, in total, I ended up selling 4 oranges, 1 watermelon keychain, and then 1 blueberry, which also had embroidered eyes. And if you'd ever like to make some of these fruits for your market, they are a part of my 5-in-1 pattern bundle that's available on my Etsy. Okay. In 3rd place, taking home the bronze medal for this market with a total of 3 sales was my chunky dinos. So I brought 5 of them with me, and I ended up selling the blue, yellow, and green one. And for all of my returning crochet friends, I know what you're thinking. Yes, Pink Dino once again did not get adopted. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Pink Dino drama, basically I've brought this fellow with me to my past few markets, and he has consistently been the only dino left on my table at the end of the day. Despite all of the other plushies starting a Justice for Pink Dino campaign, he is still here. And as you probably can tell, he is growing angrier and angrier with each market that passes. However, I will say, at least this time, he has Purple Dino to help keep him company. I don't know, man. Maybe you'll have better luck at the next market. Anyways, putting the Pink Dino drama aside, 3 out of our 5 dinos did sell, so totally recommend making some of these dinos for your market because they are consistently a good seller for me. Okay, now I have a bunch of things that I sold 2 of, so we're just gonna go in alphabetical order for these ones. The next item that sold was my bees, so I sold 2 out of the 5 of the bees that I brought, and I made 1 with embroidered eyes, and it sold really quick. So I'm thinking for this next market this weekend, the 2 that I'm gonna make, I'm probably going to give them both embroidered eyes. Again, the one that sold at this market with the embroidered eyes, it was purchased by someone who was buying for their grandchild, which I thought was super cute. Next, we have our medium-sized chickens, and the chickens overall did really well this week. I've mentioned this before, but chickens are super popular in my state, so the locals did not disappoint this week. And most of the medium-sized chickens that I make them using Snow Cone by Premier. And this week I ended up selling a gray one, and then I also actually sold a solid white one, which I made using Sweet Snuggles Light, so that was fun. But definitely going to embroider some eyes on the new ones that I make this week as well. Next we have our Jumbo Mushy Boys. So we ended up selling 2 of these at the market. I sold the green one and the purple one, so we still have our pink and blue one left. And some of you guys have asked me where the pattern is for this. So it's the same pattern that I use for my regular size Mushy Boys. It's by Chunky Crochet on Instagram. The only difference is I size up the yarn and the hook. So for the jumbos, I use Sweet Snuggles with a 10mm hook. And that brings us to our next bestseller, the regular size Mushy Boys. I sold 2 of these fellas as well. One was a hot pink one, and that's actually the first time I've ever made a Mushy Boy using hot pink yarn, so I'll definitely have to make another one for my next market. And then I also sold the other purple one. Up next we have our adorable little Octos, and I ended up selling 1 of the hot pink ones and then 1 of the light blue ones. And I just love using this pattern because, as you can see, they have these individual little tentacles, and I just love adding that little bit of extra detail to these guys. Up next, yes, we sold out of our pickles yet again. So I only brought 2 pickles and they both sold. And funny enough, actually the same person bought both of them. So I guess they just really must love pickles. But I'm gonna try to make a bunch more for my next market. And instead of using this smaller glass jar, I'm going to use this huge plastic container that looks like a glass jar. Shout out to my husband for loving pretzels as much as he does, because my man downed the pretzels that were in this thing. So now I can use it for my next market. Of course, I'll just have to clean out the last little bit of pretzels that are in there. And I figured that this is a win-win because I'll be able to fit more pickles into the jar, and this will be safer than having a glass jar on my table. Of course, this week it was fine because we were in the woods, so I wasn't really worried about the glass jar falling off. But the time before that, we were on asphalt because we were in a parking lot. But I was kind of worried that it might get knocked off the table and break and just be a big mess. So I'm definitely glad to now have a plastic jar for my pickles, and this week will be fill in the pickle jar. And if you want to know how I make my adorable pickles, I do have a free pickle pattern on my Instagram if you'd like to check it out. Alrighty, and next we have our cheeky turtles. These guys always do super well, and they always put a smile on everybody's face, which is the best part. I usually bring 2 each in emerald and mint, and this time both of the mint ones sold. I do think that mint has consistently been more popular than emerald, so I might be making more in the mint color in the future. But yeah, totally recommend this pattern. It's free. I'll link it for you guys below, of course. And shout out to the pattern creators for blessing the crochet community with this absolute gem. Alrighty, now on to the items that I sold 1 of. So the first item is my mini chicken. I sold 1 of these guys, and I just love how adorable these little guys are. I figured out that I love making the beak a little bit smaller. I just think it makes them look so derpy and cute. Next, I sold 1 of my jumbo chickens. So this is the only jumbo chicken that I have left. So as you can see, the chicken coop was popping off this weekend. And lastly, one of the items that we sold was one of our derpy froggies, and I did end up selling one of the ones that had embroidered eyes. And yet again, he was adopted by another grandma who was buying for her grandchild. And I think I'm going to actually start phasing out my derpy froggies, and it's for a few different reasons. The first is that, yeah, they sell moderately well, and I mean, look at them. They're absolutely adorable, but they haven't done amazing. So I kind of wanted to focus on making some different items, maybe some possums or some duckies. I think that would be super cute. I just really want to keep mixing things up because I don't want to keep making the same things over and over, especially with the amount of markets that I do. So we will be testing out some brand new patterns next week and we'll see how they do at my market. So that wraps up everything that sold this week. So now let's move on to the things that didn't sell. Okay, we are starting with an absolute shocker. The first item that didn't sell was my axolotls. This absolutely blew my mind. I was so shocked that not a single one of these guys sold this week. If you've watched my last market day video, then you know that I almost sold out of all 8 of my axolotls, and they've consistently been a bestseller up to this point. So I think it was just one of those weird coincidences that none of them were chosen this week. This just shows that there really is no way of knowing what will sell well at markets, and even one of your best sellers might have an off day. But anyway, hopefully all of these guys will have better luck at the next market. The next item that didn't sell this week were my keychains. So I brought some bee keychains, some popping mushroom keychains, and some strawberry keychains, and actually none of them ended up selling. These usually do moderately well, so I just kind of chalked this up to it was adults buying for kiddos, and usually kiddos prefer plushies over keychains. So obviously less people would gravitate to them this time. But again, maybe it wasn't that, and it was just an off day for the keychains. Who knows? Okay, next we brought our 4 dragons, and none of these guys sold. I've mentioned this before, but I don't go into a market expecting to sell any of these guys. They're kind of more of like attention grabbers to bring people into my booth. But when one of them does sell, of course it is an added bonus. But yeah, I brought 4 of these guys with me in total. So I brought this mint green one. Super cute. And then I also brought this purple one. I'm gonna flip the wings over so you can see the detailing. Absolutely adorable. Then of course we have our pink and white dragon. And then finally we have this yellow and brown dragon, and I actually free-handed this sunflower to go on the end of his tail. I absolutely love making this dragon pattern. I think that it's so much fun. It's by Crochet by Jenna, and of course I'll link it below for you if you'd like to check it out, but it is also no-sew, so that's super nice. The next thing that didn't sell was my popping mushroom froggy. This is actually a pattern test that I did quite a while ago for Crochets by Natty, and this guy just hasn't had much luck yet. So this time I did display him with his mushroom popped up like that, and I tried to demonstrate that he was an interactive plushie whenever I could, and he definitely got the most attention that he ever has. So I'm just gonna keep displaying him like this, and hopefully he'll find his home soon enough. And next we have our heart-shaped plushie. This is actually the first time that I added a face to him. Before it was just a blank heart. And same with the popping mushroom froggy, a lot more people noticed this guy than ever before. So hopefully with his adorable little face now, he will sell soon. I was thinking it would be super funny if I just kept adding things to him until he sold. Like if I gave him some arms and then some legs, and then if he didn't sell, I would give him a mustache and then just a bunch of random other things until eventually he sold. But I will say he is quite adorable as is, so we'll try this out for a little while and see how that does. Okay, so this next item, this was the very first time that I've ever brought this item to a market with me, and it is this jumbo horse. I mean, look at him, you guys. He is absolutely gigantic. If you saw my one video, you might recognize him, and you might be wondering, wait, wasn't that the giant horse that you did for a custom order? And yes, this is that very same horse. Unfortunately, there were some logistical complications that made it so that the customer actually couldn't end up adopting this guy. And it really wasn't their fault, like no harm, no foul. And even though this technically was a custom order in that they picked out the color of the horse and the color of the saddle, it really is kind of a generic looking horse. So I knew I would be able to bring it to my markets, and it could be another showstopper piece. And boy, did this horse do his job, because so many people saw this guy and came into my booth to get a closer look at him. So yeah, I anticipate hanging on to this guy for quite a long time, just like the dragons. But if you're watching this video and you would like to adopt Mr. Jumbo Horse, then just send me a message on my Etsy. Oh my gosh, he's so heavy. Alrighty, and the last items that didn't sell at my market were my turtles. So I brought one regular purple turtle, and then I also brought these two sunflower turtles, one in the emerald green and then one in the lavender. And then of course, I also brought this adorable strawberry turtle. This one is so soft and I'm just waiting for someone to buy this one. I absolutely love the size of it. But yeah, these guys are a little more on the expensive side for the price range that I have at my booth, and that's just because they do take a little bit longer to make with all of the fins that need to be sewn on individually. I am thinking about making some smaller turtles, maybe some no-sew turtles that I can have at my booth at a much lower price. So if you guys know of any awesome no-sew turtle patterns, let me know in the comments. Alrighty you guys, those are all of the items that didn't sell this week, and as you can see, we had a pretty good variety of items that sold. But before we get into our market results, I wanted to show you guys some footage of my booth display and how I set everything up for the day. So I'll show you guys some footage of how my booth looked. If you've watched previous videos, you can see that it's more or less the same. The major difference is that the whole booth is actually flipped from what it usually is, but other than that, everything is mostly the same. I have all of my display stuff linked in the description in case you'd like to take a look at any of it, but I got these 4 crates from Michael's, and we have our loaf cats, the jumbo mushy boys, turtles, and chickens in those. These crates really are perfect for the loaf cats. I cannot get over how good they looked in them. I just think they look so cute stacked in there. Same for the chickens. They look so adorable in their little chicken coop. And then of course we have our little tiered displays for our mushy boys and the octos, and then pretty much everything else goes on our treat rounds. I've mentioned before that I love keeping my display very neutral because it allows all of the plushies to really pop. All of my display stuff is pretty much wooden and my table cover is in the shade peach, so I feel like having this neutral background keeps my whole table from looking too hectic with all of the crazy colors that I have going on with my plushies. But yeah, so that's my display, and now let's get into the market results. So like I said, I am super happy with how this market day went. You know, it wasn't the best day that I've ever had in terms of sales, but for only 5 hours and a $40 booth fee, I was really happy with how it went. And the weather was super nice, and our neighboring vendor was super nice, and it was overall just a really fun day. So now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the grand total for the day. So my grand total for the day was $509. So as you can see, pretty solid market day. I was just super grateful with how this day went. It was my first time doing this event, so I'm glad we had such a good time. And obviously my car was acting a fool, so I'm just thankful that I was able to make it to the event in the first place. I'm also super grateful because this market taught me several things that I can use to improve my inventory in the future. So my biggest takeaways from this market were embroidered eyes, and oh yeah, embroidered eyes. The embroidered eyes were such a hit, so much so that these folks had me ripping safety eyes out of oranges. I will say that I think the demand for embroidered eyes was much higher than it's ever been at any of my past markets, but I still think it'll be super helpful to have even more items in the future with embroidered eyes. I think in general, having more variety just ensures that more kiddos can get something that they like. And I've been watching a bunch of videos on how to improve my embroidering technique, so I'm super excited to check that out next week when I'm market prepping. prepping. The next thing that I learned was to always bring my crochet kit and a bunch of black acrylic yarn. I pretty much always bring my crochet kit with me in case I need to fix something on the fly, but it was by pure chance that I had that black acrylic yarn with me so that I could embroider those eyes. So if there is an item in the future that has safety eyes and the customer would like me to switch it out so it had embroidered eyes, I now know that I can offer to change it for them. I felt comfortable experimenting this time because it was on my oranges and they were a $5 item, so if it did end up horribly wrong, then it wouldn't have been that huge of a loss. And of course, being able to change this out on the fly at the market really depends on how busy I am at that market, but I usually always have someone with me, usually my husband, helping me out. And the last thing I learned, which has not been a problem up until this point, but the last thing that I learned was to bring bug spray. We were in the woods, so there were lots of mosquitoes. I actually ended up putting on my long sleeve shirt with pants, and yes, I was super hot, but I preferred that over being eaten by mosquitoes. So next time I will try to remember to bring some bug spray. Hey guys! Oh my gosh, the time has come to reveal my next pattern. I am so excited to finally show this to you guys so you all can finally see what I've been working on. Alrighty, my newest pattern is, drumroll please, the Splooting Triceratops. Oh my gosh! How adorable is he? This is exactly what I was envisioning and what I was going for when I was writing this pattern, and I am just so excited with how he turned out. I'm gonna put him on my binder so you guys can see what he looks like all splooted out on a flat surface. But here he is. So cute. Oh my gosh. So there's a few different things that I really love about this pattern. So the first and most obvious one is when he's sitting down on a flat surface, it looks like all of his limbs are all sprawled out and he's splooting, which is just so cute. And the other thing that I love is if you take all of his limbs and bring them forward, he looks like he's sitting like this, and I think this position is just so cute as well. This guy has been sitting on my desk looking at me like this for the past few days, and it has just been so cute having him here. I just love that you can really position him in these different ways, and he still just looks so adorable. And then the other thing I love is when you pick him up straight, all of his limbs come down like that, and it reminds me so much of when you pick up a cat and all of their limbs just stretch out completely straight right in front of them. And I also, of course, love his body shape. This is exactly what I was going for. He's just so round and squishy. So just for some context, I made this guy using Sweet Snuggles Light with a 6.5mm hook. And I also made him in a smaller version, so here he is. This is the smaller version. This is using Parfait Chunky with a 5mm hook. So if I grab both of them here, you can see the size difference. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, now the sun is finally starting to come out. But look at them! Don't they look so cute next to each other? So you can see this guy works up about this big, my head for reference, in the larger Sweet Snuggles Light yarn. And then we have this little guy in the Parfait Chunky. But yeah, so I was inspired to make this pattern from a pillow that I actually saw in the store. Only on that pillow, the legs were like little stumps, and I thought it would just be really cute to make them a little longer so that the Triceratops was splooting. And I also wanted to be able to add the little toe detailing on all of the legs. I think that just really adds to the overall presentation. And as you can see, all of the legs are crocheted into the body, so you don't have to sew them on individually. The only things that you have to sew on this guy are this back tail and then the fins on his head here. So I guess you could say he's kind of low sew. I'm not going to label him as low sew video just because you do have to sew on the tail and the fins. But for the amount of detail going into this guy, especially with all the individual legs and everything, it is a relatively low amount of sewing. But yeah, this is my new pattern. I'm so excited to finally reveal it for you guys. And as of yesterday, I have posted the tester call on my Instagram. So if you guys would like to apply to test this guy, make sure you head over to my Instagram and apply there. And I'll be closing the tester call on August 1st at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure you apply before then. And once they are done testing, I'll be sure to let you guys know once the pattern is released on my Etsy. And okay, I'm not saying that my intention was for you guys to wear these on your head, but alrighty, you guys, that wraps it up for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Next week's video will be another market recap video of the market that I'm doing this weekend, August 3rd. So make sure you stay tuned for that so you can see the new items that I decide to add to my inventory. And make sure you apply to the pattern tester call on my Instagram if you would like the chance to test this guy. And of course, if you were crocheting during this video, let me know in the comments below what you were making. But Mr. Splooting Triceratops and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!